Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the MABS Edge Employer Internship Panel. I'm David Powers, the Assistant Director of Internships in the Lockheed Martin Career Development Center. It's good to see you this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We're really excited about the group of employers we have with us today, and I know you're going to gain a lot from the conversation. We're going to meet everyone in just a moment. But students, first, as we get started, please take just a moment to scan the QR code. You're going to be asked to enter your email address to get checked into the event. And you may begin sending questions to the panelists at any time using the Ask a Question button. And we'll address some of your questions near the end of the event. I have many questions for our guests, but we'll get yours worked in as well. Also, please check the comments section. I have included several important links there, including upcoming events, my contact information, some LinkedIn links. I'm going to invite our guests to post links to their website, their contact information that they're comfortable providing in the comments section as well. So kind of keep an eye on that area as well. Please, though, no further ado, I'm really interested to jump in and meet folks today. So let's meet our guests. Kai, would you please get us started with introduction?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Kai Armstrong. I am here on behalf of Visa. I am a campus recruiting liaison. So my role essentially is to meet and create relationships with career centers and students like yourself, as well as help our recruiters pipeline applicants for our internships and our new college grad classes and our rotational programs. That's me.
Kai, to keep things exciting, I'm going to kind of jump off script.
Yeah.
Ask you, could you share a fun fact or interesting fact about yourself?
Sure.
I know that's always a hard question for me.
Okay, well, I don't know how particularly fun it is, but I recently relocated from Connecticut to San Francisco. So now I am in sunny California, which I'm loving. Loving the winter weather. It's like 63 degrees right now. And all my friends, my parents on the East Coast are like, it's freezing and we're cold, but not me. It's I've been loving it. So yeah, that's a fun fact about me, I guess.
Yeah, that is very cool. I always rub it in on the folks back home in Kentucky this time of year. Let them know that I've not scraped a windshield in 3 years.
Oh no.
It's been fantastic.
I don't think people even have those here. Like, windshield scrapers. No way.
Thank you. Susan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, David. My name is Susan Mason. I'm the Assistant Director of Talent and Innovation Programs for the University of Texas System. So UT System is the overarching administrative organization for the 13 UT institutions across the state of Texas. So excited to be here. My role really bridges between HR, so talent and recruiting, to the innovation side of the house, where we pilot and leverage new opportunities to bring new things to students and staff across UT System. So excited to tell you all more about our program. And I see one of our alums on the attendee list. Hi, Shira, just saying, give you a little shout out.
And I can't let you get away without the high pressure, interesting fun fact about yourself, right?
Absolutely. So my family makes elaborate scripted movies for fun. So think things like Grampire or The Lunch Lady, or I've been a gangster in one called Bulletproof Heart. They're very silly. I have a green screen in my garage, and we're terrible actors, but we have a lot of fun making them.
Well, like I said to start the event, check the comment section for links to the YouTube channel. That would be awesome. Thank you, Susan. Justice, please.
Thank you, David. So my name is Justice Sego, and I am with Engineering Consulting Services Limited. I'm a project manager with the Material Testing Department, and I'm here today to let you students know more about ECS, what we stand for, what our day-to-day operations are, and the opportunities you can get with us.
It's going to hang in there for the fun fact, Justice.
So the fun fact, I love music, and I play basically the drums, the bass guitar, and the keyboard. And yeah, I love to play that. I've been playing the drums especially since I was about 8. So I play in church and teaching my 11-year-old and 2-year-old to play.
It's very cool. Thank you for sharing that. I play guitar badly. It's one of my goals of
Awesome.
moving to Texas was to get better. I just have to ask, and I don't want to completely derail our presentation, but what do you think of the Super Bowl halftime?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't get the opportunity to see the game.
You know what's wild is everyone I've asked, just about everyone I've asked has said they didn't see it or didn't watch it. So that's really kind of surprised me. It took me back. Thanks, Justice. Alex,
Thank you.
please.
Thanks, David. Hey, I'm Alex Thompson. I'm the manager for our college recruiting and our EFLS programs here at BNSF Railway. I've been with BNSF for about 10 years in March. It goes really quickly. You just blink and you're already a decade down the road, which is crazy. I love working with students. We hire and onboard students as part of my team. And so we look for great talent out in the world of many of the colleges that we get to go to, and one of those being UTA. So excited to be here today to talk to you all and hopefully have some of you become future railroaders. I guess my fun fact would be I'm a new mom. I have she's 3 months now, 3-month-old. But one of our fun things that we like to do as a family, I have 2 other littles, and we like to go anytime we're in a different city or state to the local zoo. So we go to local zoos and collect an ornament or some kind of, knickknack from all the local zoos. So we love traveling and going to local zoos.
That is really neat. Congratulations. On my Texas list, I have the Fort Worth Zoo. I've heard that the Fort Worth Zoo is really awesome. Have you all made it? Have you made it through there?
Yes, it's fantastic. It's a really great zoo, wide variety of critters, all kinds of really cool stuff.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll have to make that happen as it gets a little warmer. I wanted to remind all of the students watching that all of our panelists are MAVS Edge partners. And they have, most all, I believe, have positions available on Handshake now. I just want to reiterate how grateful we are to our partners for providing those opportunities to students, and investing their time and energy in recruiting on campus. And the goal, obviously, in a presentation like this is to give you a chance to meet these folks and get to know a little more about the program. So I'd like to give our panelists a chance to share a little more about their organizations and their programs, starting with the BNSF Railway. Alex, would you care to get us started talking about your current program in BNSF?
Yeah, I'd love to. So BNSF Railway is a large organization. We're very large, but we also feel small. So we're very familial once you're actually part of the organization, whether you're an intern, a new trainee, a new hire, or you've been here for a long time. So it's a pretty exciting place to be. A lot of people don't realize all the great opportunities that take place in a railroad and kind of what we are and who we are, what we do. So we have 32,000 miles of route track across the United States. You can really draw on the US map, a line down from Chicago, kind of always all the way down to the New Orleans area and then over to the West Coast. And that's generally the 28 states that we're in. We also have 3 Canadian provinces that we support as well. So 28 states and 3 Canadian provinces, that's one of our fun facts, 32,000 miles of route tracks. We hire a lot of engineers to help us own and maintain that track. A lot of people don't think about the highway systems as something that needs to be maintained until you're in construction, right? And sitting in traffic and construction. Well, BNSF owns and maintains all that rail line, those 32,000 miles. So we need a lot of really great, talented people to be able to help us do that and operate safely and efficiently so that we can all get our packages, whether that's our Amazon Prime button being clicked or our holiday needs met, but we get to actually move all those goods across the United States. So we literally move everything that you can imagine, from your toothbrush and the bath mat that you stand on maybe each morning, to the clothes that we're wearing today, to some of the food that we ingest, and then also that's in our food. So items that are in our food, products that go into that, like sugar, malt, all different kinds of soy and sorghum, all kinds of different items. So that's really who we are and what we do. We have, like I said, around 35,000 employees total across the country and in those 3 Canadian provinces. And we're looking for summer interns and management trainees primarily each year. So our summer intern program allows interns to really get to be be a full-time employee for a short-term time frame and get to try out the organization. So you really get to have kind of a 3-month interview for you and for us, where you get to come on board, get to network and meet employees, have real-time projects, and do a lot of really great things to impact the U.S. economy. So all of our departments are very vast. We have quite a few. And for our intern programs, we hire everybody from IT to engineering, like I mentioned, transportation, supply chain, business majors. Really any major can fit into our organization. The only group that we're usually not hiring for is medical personnel, because we have a small staff of those and they're already set and ready to go. So we really hire any major. And our summer intern program usually starts in June and wraps up in August. So it's kind of an 8 to 10, 12-week program, depending on the year. And it is a paid full-time internship. Each day you get to go out and work with lots of different people, establish relationships, and really problem solve and make a difference in our industry. So real quick, I'll just show you what our site looks like. You can actually go out and just Google BNSF jobs if you wanted to. And you would type in BNSF Railway jobs. And then over here, there's a drop down on Explore Careers where you click on college recruiting. And that's the site that we're on right here. So college recruiting has our little overview on summer intern positions, as well as our management trainee positions that are full-time after you graduate and you've had an internship with us, hopefully. And then we've got our postings here as well, so you can see those. We do have them on Handshake, just like David mentioned, so they are available for you all to apply to. I would just say that the big caveat is we usually post our jobs in August, September timeframe for the next summer. So these jobs have been out there for a little while. So if for some reason you don't get through the process, know that it's probably not something that you did. We can talk about all those things today, but it's probably just a timing thing. So definitely check those out, those job postings, and we hope you apply.
Thank you. I was kind of curious. Obviously, the railroad is really important to the supply chain. Just something I was thinking about as you were speaking, Alex. Have you seen any? Has your work or the work at BNSF been impacted by some of that? Is it safe to assume that that's happening all across the board, or?
Definitely. You mean the supply chain issues just off the coast with the the ports? Yes.
Yeah, typically, you hear about the ports, but I was just curious if that trickles down. I assume it does.
Yes, definitely. So we're still obviously trying to move our trains, moving all those goods inward off of the ports. We still have quite a bit of volume, so that just continues. People are still shopping, still need, bread and milk and all the things that you get at the grocery store. So even during the pandemic, that didn't slow down. It really just kind of sped up. So there is definitely backlog in some areas, but it's more so every day that we're trying to work to reduce any backlog that there could be, and then make sure that people get their items that they're needing. So customer support's a big win, big deal for the railroad.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking is important for students to understand how critical the railroad is to that supply chain and the work that they could be doing with BNSF. Thank you so much. Justice, would you care to talk to us about engineering consulting services, please?
Thank you, David. So Engineering Consulting Services is a nationwide company. We have about 75 offices spread out all over the nation. And over here in the Metroplex, we have the Dallas office and the Fort Worth office. So we are basically based in environmental engineering consulting, geotechnical engineering consulting, materials testing, and facilities. And with the environmental group, what basically we do is they go out before construction begins, perform the ESA phase 1 and phase 2, check the soils if there are any fossils or contaminations, and then they make recommendations. And then from there, we have the geotechnical group who go in, do the soil exploration, check the bearing capacities of the soils, check the buildability of the soils, and then they make recommendations. From those recommendations, we get the structural engineers look at that and then pick the numbers and do their designs. So once the designs are done and the building is ready to be built, then the material group comes in and we do the quality control and quality assurance inspections and testing, from concrete testing, foundation, all the way to the building envelopes. structural wise. And then we have the facilities group who do a lot more of the building envelope inspection and compliance, roof inspection, and also energy compliance and commissioning. So it's very, very, very much diverse in all the areas of engineering, and we have lots of opportunities for interns to look into and then gain a lot more experience.
Yeah, thank you, Justice. I noticed that engineering consulting services has so much opportunity. And I mean, do you have a ballpark figure of maybe how many interns you guys bring on each year? I just noticed in Handshake there are we see a lot of postings, a lot of opportunity.
Currently, this year we're looking in the materials group alone. We're looking at opportunities for about 12 interns, and we have filled most of that in the materials group, but we still need a lot more in the geotechnical engineering group.
Thank you. Susan.
All right, my pleasure. I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right. So we started the UT System internship in 2020. So much like your lives, it got completely upended. And we thought we were going to have a pilot of 10 students in person in Austin downtown. And yep, that didn't happen. So you know what happened next. But we pivoted to a completely virtual program that year and actually added 6 positions so that we could try and help out some more students, because we knew you all were having a rough time that year with your predecessors in getting their internships. And I'm happy to say that that went well. We have several different things that we feel like are differentiators that we were able to pivot to virtual, and I wanted to make sure that I highlighted those for you. So it is a 10-week paid internship program. Everyone starts and ends together, and we'll get to why that is. But we also ask our supervisors to create projects for you so that you're owning something from beginning to end. Unlike some of my colleagues here, we can't offer you a job at the end of the internship. We're a just-in-time employer. So we hope that you're part of our pipeline, and that when we have a job available, we're an employer that you would look for after the experience that you had, but we can't hire in the summer for the next year. So we're trying to make sure that we build an opportunity for you to really own something from beginning to end, so that you can talk about that in your interview, and you can talk about a whole story, the good, the bad, the ugly, the things you did well, the issues and challenges that happened, and the results. So that's why we make it a project basis, and that could look a lot of different ways. So maybe one project for the entire summer, or it could be 2 or 3 smaller projects. But all of those you'd be able to tell a coherent story about, and really use that to leverage in those next internships. So then we also have a professional development program where the cohort gets together. And I have a brand new dog that you can hear in the back. This is my first experience with him on a Zoom. So I'm going to kick him out of the room if he doesn't stop. David is laughing at me. Yes, our virtual guide. Professional development program. He wanted to make sure you knew he was here. The cohort gets together for an hour to an hour and a half once a week, and we do things like that are really unique. We have a Q&A with the chancellor. Even our staff doesn't get to do that, and we bring in our executive officers. We do things on resume building and cover letters. Everyone does the strengths finders assessment at the beginning, and so really spend that time together working to upskill for you. We also pair you with another staff member as a professional to just be another support as a mentor for you through the summer. And then we do build in opportunities for reflection throughout the whole summer as well, so that you have time to think through what you learned at the beginning through the end, and really process that the whole way through. And then we do have the cohort model, so that you are building your peer network. So we think that's really important, that you're going to have peers from across the state by the end. We have a whole bunch of things that you will see on our, sorry, on our website. I'll let you look at those, and all the job descriptions are there. But a couple of things to know, we will still have some positions that are remote. We will have some that are in person this year. So if you're interested in being in Austin, there are opportunities. If you're interested in continuing remote, there are possibilities. So check out those job descriptions so you can see which ones are which. Our eligibility requirements are also on the website, and I'll leave that there since I need to kick my dog out of the room. Thank you.
I know everyone has seen the movie Christmas Vacation. I couldn't get that out of my mind. Was Christmas Vacation. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
I'm definitely here for your entertainment value. Everyone else looks far more professional today. You're welcome.
Oh, thank you. Kai, would you talk about Visa, please?
Yes, of course. And no promises that my dog's not going to start barking or something as well. All right. So Visa, we are often mislabeled as a credit card company, but we're actually a global payments company that facilitates more than 215 billion payments transactions each year. We're headquartered in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we have about 21,000 employees. We have offices throughout the US and overseas as well. And most recently, we've announced that we're opening an office in Atlanta in order to tap into the market that has kind of been dubbed the Silicon Valley of the South. A fun fact about Visa that is, pretty current is that we currently have 34 athletes across 15 countries competing across 14 different sports representing Team Visa at the Olympic and Paralympic Games in Beijing right now. So that's a really cool company initiative that we're super proud of. In terms of our internship opportunities, I'm just going to try to share screen right now. One sec. Can everyone see my screen?
I don't believe it's happening yet. There we go. Now it's
Is it happening now?
Yep.
Okay, so we have a 12-week internship each summer. We will match students to a team one-to-one where they will work for the summer. In the past, it's been virtual, or the past 2 summers, it's been virtual. I believe this summer we actually are moving forward, fingers crossed, with a hybrid internship opportunity. We do aim to hire our interns full-time after the completion of the internship. This is our internship, or our landing page for students. It's just visa.com/students. On this microsite, you can see, students in early careers. These are all the virtual events, and with the exception of a few, there's some in person where we're on campus. If you click apply to programs, it brings you down here to intern programs, and then you can click explore opportunities, and it should redirect you to all of the job opportunities that we have available for our interns each summer. So I definitely encourage everyone to look at that. And then most everyone has a mentor, or if you don't have your own one-to-one mentor, we make sure like one mentor has a few different interns. And then in addition to that, we also, each internship site has a site lead. I'm the San Francisco site lead that plans events and happy hours and city tours and stuff like that throughout the summer, to also make sure it's a good time for you to network and expand your network. And that's basically the Visa internship.
Thank you.
I don't know how to stop sharing. Hold on. Sorry.
It should just be that little button at the top. You kind of have to hover though.
Here we go. Awesome. Thank you so much for taking some time to kind of go through the programs. Like I said, in my conversations with students, I often hear, well, there's just a lack of understanding of all the opportunity that is offered within an organization a lot of times. So it's great to hear that kind of overview and to understand how and where to get involved. My favorite part of this kind of event is the question section. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. We have a couple questions I see coming in from students. We'll make sure that we get to those. But I wanted to start by asking, has anyone in this group completed an internship? And if you have, what did it mean to you? What did you learn from it? And I'm watching the mute buttons. Susan?
I'll take a second while the dog is quiet to share that I did have an internship in college, and I'll talk very quietly while I do it. I actually was an English major and a theater minor, and I thought I wanted to do PR. And so I got a great internship at the Orpheum Theater in Memphis. Spent a semester working for them, and it was awesome because I found out something I did not want to do. And so I want to throw that out there for you all, because the internship was a good experience. I had great people and great support, and I absolutely hated the work. And that was something that if I hadn't had the internship, I would have gone for a full-time job straight out of college, and I'd have gotten into it and I would have been so horrified about what the heck do I do next, right? So it gave me an opportunity to try that on a short term and to be able to pivot and to do some more exploration and see something that would be a better fit for me. So even if your internship doesn't turn out exactly the way you had hoped, that's still a really important part of the process to figure out what you want to do next. So that would be my thing to share. Is good doesn't necessarily mean you found the thing. It means you've got an answer to a question. So.
Thank you, no doubt. When I was on the career coaching side of things and career services, we talked about that all the time. It's an opportunity to test drive a career, to get a better understanding. You think you know what the professions are. I always use teaching as an example. You know, we all sit in a classroom for 12 years at least, you know, and you see the teacher up there, so you think you know what teaching is because you experience it every day. But it's not until you get into it and you start to do it and you see behind the scenes, you know, what these positions and what these jobs, what these fields are really like. Kind of on a related note, does anyone have a student success story maybe that they would like to share? Possibly a student who moved on to a full-time hire, or anything, or anyone that really stands out.
I would just,
I was going to say awkward wait time. Thank you, Alex. I was watching the mute buttons. Go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, we have quite a few interns who will come in their junior year and have a junior experience and a senior experience and then come back as a full-time. I have 2 or 3 that I know firsthand that have had great experiences and actually moved different departments because they love the organization. They had maybe an engineering degree or an IT background, but they really wanted to experience multiple groups before they committed to their full-time. So we've had quite a few that have done that. And that's a really exciting thing about our intern program is you don't have to have an internship and then come work for us full-time. You can be a full-time hire or just an intern, and not just, but experience it as an intern. So in kind of follow up to Susan, she had an internship, which is great, that let her know that that's not what she was really cut out to do. And I had a similar, I didn't have an internship per se, but I had work experience while in college. And it really just helps you have a leg up as far as understanding business, what customers are looking for, kind of some of the vernacular and some of the, Microsoft skills, just kind of soft skills as well. So lots of great opportunities, just having any kind of work experience.
A challenge I think a lot of us have as young professionals is just a lack of professional references. You see that all the time. You're asking your college professor or your academic advisor who knows really nothing of your work history or what you'd be like as a staff member to serve as a reference, and obviously they can be strong references in some cases, but in a lot of cases it's good to have someone who can speak to your experience and what you're like as a staff member. So it is an opportunity to develop your network and to gain a professional reference as well. Anyone else want to add anything regarding a student success or a personal experience before we move along?
Yeah, I'll just do a shout out for actually a UTA alum who started in our internship and we wound up hiring him full time. Samer Hijazi, he's great. He's on the data analytics side. And as I said, it was a just-in-time position. We didn't even have a position and we created one for him because he did such strong work in the internship. And now I tease him about many things, but one is that we see this, the Samer effect is what I call it. We had a data intern and then suddenly they saw the things he was producing for us. And now I have many data internships from other departments who said, can I get a student to do that for me? And I was like, heck yeah, you can. Let's find you a Samer. So he's amazing.
I'll have to tease him about that too, the Samer effect. I like that. It's cool. I'm tired of talking about the pandemic. I know you all are too, but we're going to talk about it, one more time. I was just curious if if you still see it impacting your industry, impacting your programs. I know that's still an outside concern, I think, for folks and maybe on students' minds. But would anyone like to speak to the nature of the pandemic, if that's continuing in your industry or impacting your programs?
I can take that one. I think something I'm sure all of us have noticed throughout the pandemic is um, there's such a surplus of opportunities. Like at least I go on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot as a recruiter, and it's just offer accepted, offer accepted. I had 5 offers, 6 offers, 7 offers, which is so different, at least for me, than what happened when I graduated college. Like I think I had 2 offers I was choosing between, but now students are choosing between 5, 6, 7 offers, and they're all really amazing offers of really amazing companies. And it's just such a different landscape. And I think it's good for companies because it kind of puts a fire under us all to really make sure the opportunities that we're offering are authentic and unique and interesting and rewarding for students. But I mean I think it's really changed the landscape. I think companies just in general used to kind of be able to I guess get by name brand recognition or something like that. Whereas now I think companies have to put in that extra effort, which I think is good because I think we all should be putting in that extra effort. And especially now being virtual, I'm still working from home due to COVID. We're going to be going back to the office eventually, but the date does keep getting pushed back. So I think it also has kind of afforded us the ability to kind of like sit back and think about our strategy. For example, prior to the pandemic, my role was a lot of travel. Like I would be traveling to all different universities and doing these events in person, which was great. However, I think something we have realized is the power of virtual events. Like for example, today I have 3 different events. That would definitely not have been a thing pre-pandemic. I would never have committed to doing 3 events in one day. Even at the same school, because I think that would be exhausting, quite honestly. But I think like Zoom and Teams and all of the above have made it a lot easier. So I definitely think that the pandemic has kind of changed the game in the industry in that way, for at least for me.
Thank you. That's great insight. I hadn't thought about the impact that I know it's being termed a lot of different things, the Great Resignation, the war for talent. I've heard a lot of those kinds of things. So it's been interesting to see also how those students are dealing with those offers. I hear that there's been some really poor etiquette in terms of professional etiquette, in terms of how they're accepting or declining offers. Ghosting, I don't think is good in any situation, but I hear some of that. Justice, I know you had a response. I wanted to give you a chance to jump in.
Right. So in the construction industry, it really hasn't slowed down. I think it rather got busier during the pandemic. Which is a good sign and a good thing. So evidently, you drive by the roadside and you see construction going on everywhere, and that is a good sign. And that offers us the good problem of trying to get more people to augment the effort of the current labor we have. So yeah, that also opens opportunities for internships. And once you do the internship with us, you also stand a chance of being considered for employment down the line when we have openings. So it's been a good problem, to put it. And the internal difficulty we have, I'll say challenges a little bit, will be we going more virtual in our meetings and kind of like gathering. So we do more of the Teams call and the Zoom calls, just like I said. And I think that is pretty much typical with everybody as of now. But yes, with the construction industry, it hasn't slowed down. There are lots of opportunities to explore.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that's the theme, I think, is there are tons of opportunities right now across the board. Interesting to hear it from you all, though. I mean, and like I said, I appreciate you being here because you carry a lot of credibility when you say these things to students. So I appreciate that. This is probably it used to call it the $64,000 question, but with inflation, it's probably now the $85,000 question from students. What could or should a student do to make herself stand out among candidates for an internship? You know, I know this is a big question, and it kind of relates to something I've seen in the chat from a student, you know, regarding following up, how much contact is appropriate with the recruiter. I mean, you guys are crazy busy, obviously, and probably even more so now, as Kai mentioned, 3 events in a day and lots of messages. So what would be some of the best practices, I guess, for a student to adhere to in this climate to try to stand out from the masses?
I've got a couple of thoughts for you. Do your homework. So we're UT system with no S. It is one system with lots of institutions. And I can't tell you how many cover letters I get wrong, how many people call it the systems when we're in interviews. And that's super basic, right? That you can see on any document we have anywhere. And then more than that, and I will admit to this, I had to do the homework when I applied, and I worked at UT Austin. I had no idea we had 13 institutions in UT system, but I sure as heck knew before I went into that interview. So know the basics. The website's right there. And I understand that, hey, like I said, I worked there for 15 years and I had no idea there were 13 institutions. So I get it if you're a UT Arlington student and you have no idea how many other schools there are. But if you're going to apply to a job here, know that. It's pretty easy to find out. And then we have a lot of positions in a lot of different departments, and all of our departments are highlighted on the website as well. So take a look at how they're describing themselves and the language that they're using around the things that they do. And that's something you can easily incorporate into the way that you answer questions to make them see you more easily in the role with their department. So do your homework before you get into those interviews, and even before you write your cover letter, to make yourself really stand out to me.
I think one thing I would add to that as well, that's great advice. I completely agree with everything Susan just said. But in terms of the application process itself, like before you even score the interview, be really thoughtful about which position you're applying for. And I really encourage you only to apply to 1, maybe 2 positions. I know it's so tempting to get on the career site and get really excited and see all the positions that you would be a great fit for. A lot of times companies have many and multiple, but going back to the whole cover letter thing and how really and truly you should be tailoring resumes per application, I think it comes off better, at least in the eyes of the employer and the recruiter, if you have, maybe 1 or 2 applications opposed to 4 or 5. I know myself, like when I'm looking in our applicant tracking system, sometimes like I'll look up someone's name, and if I see that they have like 11 applications, part of me is a little bit hesitant to reach out, just because I'm wondering, all right, are they really interested in this particular application, or did they read the qualifications? Certain kind of alarm bells go off in your head when you see that sort of thing. So yeah, I guess, and then to tie back to Susan's point about doing your research and knowing what application or what job you applied for. Like, nothing is worse than getting on the phone with someone and having them ask you, oh, well, what position is this in relation to? Because you really should know what position you are talking to a recruiter about, because that means you did your research and you are prepared for the call, and you are being respectful of both your time and their time. So that's just an additional point I would add.
Thank you. Any other thoughts about outreach to recruiters? I've spoken to recruiters who say they may have 50, 60 LinkedIn messages in their inbox at any given time. I can only imagine what your emails probably look like, and you're also traveling in some cases, right? So I was just curious, again, a lot of students, we talk about networking, and that's going to be the next question. How do you meet people? How do you get in front of people? Any thoughts about reaching out or contacting recruiters?
I would say this is a really helpful one. If you could say why you're reaching out. So the position specifically, if there is one that you're interested in. So just like Kai mentioned, if it's one position versus, multiple, if you can highlight which position you're interested in, and then when or where or how you met or came across that person's name. So if you were on this call today and you got to hear all of us, and then you're reaching out on LinkedIn to become our connection, saying, hey, I saw you, February 17th at this event and I'm really interested in X position. Having that specificity is really important for us because there's just so much, right? So if you're going to put yourself ahead, if you can say, hey, I'm not just a person scrolling, I'm somebody who either saw you or met somebody else at your company too. So even if they're not the lead recruiter, it's great to reach out to someone at any company that you've researched and you're interested in, just to say, hey, I'm interested in this company in general, interested in this position. Can you tell me a little bit more? Would you mind connecting? That's one of my big points for LinkedIn, especially, is those personalized messages are really a lot of times the answer between a yes or a no, as far as a connection on LinkedIn. So definitely any kind of network, but communication is key. So if you can just communicate your intent, that genuine interest, that's going to be huge. And that's definitely going to put you above others.
Yeah, thank you. That insight's really valuable to understand, a day in the life of the recruiter and what you guys are looking at and looking for. Really appreciate that. And like you said, it's that referencing back to a previous time. It is about, it's connecting. It's about connecting with someone. I mean, one of the reasons we did the what some people might consider the goofy fun fact about yourself is because that helps people connect. That helps people remember things about you, that you feel like then you have some things in common, right? So it is about building relationships, and to do that, you've got to connect. So great tips. Let's continue to talk a little bit about networking, because we harp on it, and career centers harp on it. Everyone knows, here's the statistic about, positions being filled 80% through referral, and that sort of thing. And we talk constantly about, your relationships and investing time in those. But do you have any tips? And I mean, that's kind of the world I would think that you all live in is making those kind of connections. So do you have any tips for creating a strong professional network, especially for students who maybe they're introverted, or maybe they just absolutely have no idea where to start? It's this nebulous thing called networking and pitching. And do I have to have a business card? I mean, could you give us some thoughts about networking, please?
So I think, oh, sorry, Susan, do you want to go? Okay. So I think I'm going to talk about networking, during an internship, because I think that's where I see some students really excel and other students kind of, flop, for lack of a better way of putting it. I personally think that an internship opportunity is a really great gimme in terms of networking. I know at Visa we really strive and work hard to set up senior speakers and give all of our interns an opportunity to meet our senior leaders. But beyond that, I think we're always most impressed by the interns who kind of go out of their way to ping people on teams that they might not be working with directly, via Microsoft Teams, and say, hey, I'm an intern on this team this summer, and I would really appreciate, 5 or 10 minutes of your time just to talk a little bit more about your role in your team, et cetera, et cetera. And I think we always get feedback about interns who do that and how it's really impressive. Compared to the interns who, they show up to the internship every day and they do what they're supposed to, but beyond the actual work itself, they don't really want to network and connect. And I mean, that's totally fine. To your point, David, some people are more introverted, but what I would want to encourage those people who may be a little bit more introverted to do is just, think of it as, an opportunity that you probably won't ever have again, in terms of being exposed and being around, people in an industry who maybe have been there for 10, 20 years, or maybe they just started. Everyone has a different story, and everyone has helpful aspects of their story that could really help you. So I think, whether it be a quick ping or a thoughtful email, and then, once you are able to connect with them, if you are able to connect with them, then maybe you can connect on LinkedIn as well. And then your credibility and your online credibility will also kind of improve and be, I guess validated, for lack of a better way of putting it, as well.
Thank you. Other thoughts, just general thoughts about networking?
I would say, in addition to what's happening in the internship, before, after, you're in such a unique position as students, use it. You don't have that opportunity to say, hey, I'm a student, I'm curious, can we talk? Use your student card and use it liberally. People like to talk about themselves, right? And they like to feel good about helping someone else. So don't be as shy about that as you may be feeling. I know it feels awkward at first, but you're really just meeting other people. So if you take the sort of, I know networking has a sort of smarmy, I don't want to do it, feel to it, right? It's just meeting people. So use your natural curiosity, think about the things you really need to know to help educate you about the decisions that you're making about the rest of your life. What you think you might want to explore. There are so many more jobs out there than you know about right now. I still learn about jobs I didn't know existed all the time, and new ones are happening all the time. So just knowing a little bit enough to say, hey, you work in this field, or you work for this company, or you work for this organization. I know this little bit about it. What else? And that's not in the interview. That's in the networking. It's okay to be asking those questions in the interview to help educate you. I mean, in your networking, not in the interview, to educate you for potentially an interview later. But that's the opportunity where it's less about getting a job and it's more about figuring out, what job do I want to be trying to get? So, leverage people who are comfortable first. Start with that circle that's a little bit easier. Family, friends, your friends' parents, classmates, professors, people they may know. Start there and get used to it. And then it'll get easier and you can expand out, and it can be with people who feel a little bit more high risk. And ultimately, when you send an email and you ask someone for their time, say, hey, I'm curious about this work. I read about you on LinkedIn. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're going to ghost you. Okay. So take the chance and put some of this out there, and you may wind up with some great connections and conversations. It's really good information to inform you as you move forward in your job search and your career.
Thank you, Alex. I saw that your mute button was off. Did she cover something? Did you want to add?
I was just going to say, Kai and Susan hit it on the head. That's perfect. I just love that. The student card, making sure that you're utilizing that, because really once graduation's over, now you're in the workforce and you don't have that student card to use. So emailing people, asking them on LinkedIn, just like, you've heard today, reaching out to people that are maybe in your familial networks or friend networks, but just asking for an informational interview type of thing. So, hey, can I have 5-10 minutes for a coffee chat, or just, a phone call to learn more about the organization to see if it's what I think it is, really just to understand the expectations of what someone in that workforce, goes through each day, and if that's something that really interests you. So that research piece is huge, and tying that in with your network as you're exploring and asking people about, hey, why do you love your job? Do you want to be there for 20 years? Is that something that you're looking for? Understanding and researching is part of that networking piece, and then just building those bridges and relationships as you go. But I think that's a great way to put it. Your student card's fantastic.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. Yeah, and Susan, you put it so much better than I do. When I try to make that point, I say you can get away with things as a student that you can't get away with as a young professional, right? But I like student card a whole lot better than saying that. And I can't tell you how many students I have recommended that very thing. An informational interview, people like to share, people like to help. Be curious, be genuinely curious. Don't go in trying to sell yourself necessarily. You're there to learn from the conversation, and to learn how you can add value to that person. You can't discover that without listening. So that's fantastic. Fantastic advice. A question that I see often from students all the time in different forms is, what kinds of characteristics are you looking for in your interns? I'd like to kind of rephrase that and think about, what kinds of characteristics are you looking for in your interns that you wish you saw more of, or maybe that are in short supply? What are you not seeing maybe in your candidate pools that you'd like to see? That would be a great way for students to set themselves apart. Any thoughts?
Yeah, David, I'll take this from here. So typically for an intern, we look more at students who are willing to try new things, who are willing to kind of listen to instruction and then execute the instruction to their best possible. So like in our materials group, when you come on board, there are various kind of testing and inspections that we do. You kind of stand out if you are willing to do extra, go beyond what the normal is, try new stuff, and then also communicating in a very timely fashion. So communication is key. Your willingness to do or try new things is very important. And those are the two major things that makes you stand out. And timeliness is also one very important factor.
Thank you. Yeah, that's fantastic. Not being afraid to ask questions as well, take the initiative. That's super. Are there any technical things that you're not seeing? I mean, if we wanted to drill down on the conditions of students' resumes or commonly made mistakes or their approach to interviewing, are there other skills there in the preparation piece that you wish you saw improvement in, or that could use improvement?
I'd say on the interviewing side, it's hit and miss, honestly. You can tell the students who really took the advice of their career centers seriously and practiced. You won't know every question we're going to ask ahead, but there are a lot that you can anticipate by looking at the job descriptions, right? So use the job description, look at the key things that, whoever you're applying to is looking for. And then what kind of questions might they ask to figure that out? And then practice those, right? And I think one of the things that I totally understand, have been guilty of, is I don't really have an answer to this, so I'm just going to ramble for a while. Take the moment, think of something, and then answer the question. And in general, even if it's something that you're really familiar with, you've got to get to know what 2 minutes feels like in your body. It's one of the reasons I tell people to practice so much. You have to know it without having to look at a watch. You have to know it by just repetition, muscle memory almost, because you will start to lose people after that. So take the time to do that practicing, even just for that, even if you're not going to know every question, but just understand what that feels like so that you can bring it home in a timely manner and not lose your audience, because then it's hard to get us back.
Thank you. A couple things popping up in the chat that I wanted to address really quickly. I know we're going to be running short on time. We've got about 5 or so minutes left, but we've had some requests about potentially connecting on LinkedIn. So what I am going to offer the panelists the opportunity to do, if they're comfortable with that, is to drop their LinkedIn link in there. We're going to leave that up to the panelists. Some probably use LinkedIn regularly for recruitment, others may not. So that's not an expectation, but you're welcome to drop that in if you would like to connect through LinkedIn. Also, we've had a question about possibly dropping a link to the application page or HR page. Again, welcome our panelists to drop a link directly to their positions if they like. I was looking for any other questions or comments I may have missed in the chat. I'd like to close. I mean, as you all know, you've been recruiting at UTA. You understand that we are one of the most diverse campuses in the nation. We take a lot of pride in that. One of the reasons I chose to come to UTA was for that very reason, to experience this level of diversity. We're frequently ranked in, I think, the top 5 in diversity. So we have a large population of international students. I have 2 international students in my office who are just fantastic. I mean, have been unbelievable. And I didn't understand the challenges that international students face in their job search prior to coming to UTA. Incredible, the grit, determination required as an international student even to obtain an internship. So I know many of you may not, you may or may not offer opportunities to international students, but I was curious if you had any advice to that student population, if you'd like to talk about your policy in terms of hiring international students. I know there's a lot of interest in our viewership right now regarding that. So I'll just open the floor to international student hiring and kind of your philosophy there.
I can start off with this one. So totally agree with what you just said, David. I really admire, everything that international students go through in terms of the application process. It seems, extremely taxing and in a tough place to be. But one piece of advice that I would give being on the other end of it is always be very open and upfront about your status. Most people are. This isn't saying that people usually aren't, but there have been situations. I had a situation at my last role where I hired someone, and it was up until basically the week before they were supposed to start that it came to light that they actually were going to require sponsorship, and there was there was dishonesty on their end about what the situation was, and it was just really unfortunate because it really changed things, and we weren't able to move forward with their candidacy. And then it also kind of left a poor taste in our mouth, as HR and as the recruiters for that role, because they asked, could they possibly be considered again if the circumstances changed. And it was kind of tough because I really had to sit down with them and say, well, potentially, but also I need you to understand that it's really important in all aspects of the recruitment process to be honest, whether or not it's something like, sponsorship or, just your general skill set or, the state you're living in. Like they're all things that really affect the behind the scenes nature of it, and that maybe students don't realize, or maybe just people in general don't realize. So I guess one piece of advice would just be always be very transparent about the situation. And it will work out in the end, especially if you're honest about it. But if you are less honest, there are more chances for things to go very, very wrong very, very quickly.
Yeah, and I'd say for UT System, we're happy to consider international students. There's a question in the chat about if international students need sponsorship for internships. Well, not exactly. You probably need CPT or OPT, which isn't quite the same. But you do need to know what your specific visa requirements are. So don't apply for something if you're not eligible to work. So we are happy to hire you, but you still have to meet a visa requirement, and we can't supersede that. So if your visa requirement, and most of the time for CPT, there are occasionally exceptions, it's 2 semesters of coursework, period, whether you're an undergraduate or graduate student. For our program, you only have to have 1 semester of graduate coursework for us to consider you if you're applying for a graduate position. But if you're an international student, you still need that too, because our eligibility requirement does not supersede your visa requirement. So know your visa requirement, because it will help keep all of us in both directions from being in an awkward situation, because we don't want to fall in love with you as our candidate and then find out we can't hire you. It goes back to what Kai said, and that's not a question that we ask that someone would be misleading about, but sometimes it's just been they didn't know. So if you're unsure of what your requirements are, go find out before you start applying, so you're not disappointed and you don't disappoint a potential employer. That would be my advice.
I would also say ask your counselors and your advisors in your school, specifically if they have companies that that do allow sponsorships. So, BNSF will not sponsor CPT, OPT, H1, any of those for the intern or the MT roles because they're entry level, but there are other jobs potentially that we would have where sponsorship would be allowed. It really just depends, but doing the research on the role, making sure that you are very transparent, like Kai mentioned, that's really, really helpful to everyone in the whole process. And that's going to be helpful for you, especially with your character, at stake as you're going through the recruitment process. So just being open and honest is huge. Doing that research, asking the folks that you have as resources who hires international students regularly, I think that would be a really great place to start too.
Thank you. I know we're really getting close on time. Hopefully this webinar won't kick us out right at an hour. I don't believe it's going to, thankfully. You never know sometimes. Something I wanted to mention in the conversation around international students, there is there is often a misunderstanding about sponsorship in regards to internships. You know, I know that full-time employers may have a pipeline program where their intention is to bring on a student as an intern and then hire them full-time. They wouldn't require sponsorship to be an intern. However, if you're going to hire them full-time, sponsorship would be required. And I think sometimes the question is asked, do you require sponsorship? Well, for this internship position, no, it's not sponsorship that you require. You can use CPT or OPT, but you would if you were offered a full-time position. And as Susan, I think, alluded to, it's educating yourself on the differences in those terms when you're an international student. And if you need to, be able to explain those terms to the employer who may not be familiar with CPT, OPT, and the process for bringing on an intern, especially in your smaller to mid-sized businesses who maybe don't work with international students as often. So yeah, it's really, really important points of distinction there. And that's great conversation and a great advice. I know we're a bit over time. I wanted to thank the panel again. You guys have really been fantastic. A lot of good information. We got a nice, good, clean recording. Hopefully Riggs is good. It made it through. Made it through the presentation. Okay. Again, please check the comments section for contact information and links, upcoming events near the start of the comments. And thank you again, panelists, for attending this afternoon, and good luck, students, this semester.
Thank you.
Thank you.